Hello! In our last video, we showed you what Rivian home delivery looked like. This is for the Rivian R1S Max Pack SUV. Today we're going to take our first real drive in it. We've both test driven it, and I test drove the Rivian R1T as well, but in neither case were we allowed to make any video recordings, and the test drives themselves were very limited in length of time and distance we were able to travel and the roads we were able to go on. Today we're going to do a little bit more. We're going to go on the Interstate 75, we're going to do some back roads, we're going to do a little bit of everything and tell you what our first impressions are, both me and Mrs. E-Hermes. Welcome back to E-Hermes, your electric adventure travel channel. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. In our delivery video, it showed how we set up our individual driver profiles. So my profile is set up and we're ready to go. Let's go over a few settings to get started. To start with, we're going to select our drive mode. Because we're going to be doing a little bit of everything, except really going off-road, we're going to use all-purpose. Here's some of the other screens you can see. It gives you some of your information on your battery, your motor temperatures, elevation, I think that's off by about a few feet, compass, trips, and tire information you have to drive before that shows up. We have brake regeneration on high. We have stability on. We have the soft ride feel. We could change that to stiff, but since we're going more on a road trip, we'll make that soft. And we have the ride height in Neo mode. I think we're going to change that to standard. Get a little better range in Neo mode, but the standard height, I like the seating position and the view better. All right, let's get started. We're going to put it into drive. Over here, you can see the efficiency. It's a little, we've just started. It's got 22 miles on it altogether, so it's a little hard to say. Down here, you see the battery percentage and the estimated range. So let's get started. The graphics on the navigational screen are excellent. A lot of detail. You have the satellite view. You have the regular map view. It'll show you where chargers are. And there's some of your choices on orientation, audio type, and the volume. You pick any of the networks you want, and it shows you the charging locations, shows you if they're available, how available they are. This one has two, but when I check, now there's only one available. So that gives you a good idea of where your chargers are, in which networks. We're using everything except Tesla. In a few weeks here, we'll be using that one too. And it also tells you the speed of the chargers. We can sort by that, so let's go to 150 plus. It's really gonna narrow the choices down. So we've selected either 50 to 150 plus, so everything 50 and above. That's pretty much what I use for fast charging. Preferably, of course, the 150 and above, but these charge points, a lot of them are 62 and a half, and they give you a decent charge if you really need it. If you click on the actual icon, it tells you about it, how many are available, and the 62 and a half, they round up to 63. Over here we have another charge point, same speed, one of two are available. I believe that one's at a car dealership. Then here where we have the three, you see that we have an EVgo at the Wawa in Bradenton. And that's 100 to 350 kW. Two of the three are available. So plenty of information on your charging if you need that while you're out and about. Now let's check out the in-car navigation. To use voice commands, you push the Alexa button, then you say, Alexa, navigate to Babcock Ranch.
There is a Babcock Ranch Preserve, 33.2 miles away on Punta Gorda. Do you want to get directions to that one?
Yes.
Getting directions to Babcock Ranch Preserve at Punta Gorda.
Then it tells you there's 35 miles, what the range will be when we get there, what time we'll get there, and how long it'll take, 46 minutes. It's one example of how the in-car navigation system works, using just voice commands so you don't have to take your eyes off the road. Next, let's look at the driver assist features on the vehicle. the adaptive cruise control works anywhere, and there is some lane minding, but it's really just a reminder, and it will definitely let you go out of your lane on a regular road. On a mapped highway, this is Interstate 75, when you're centered in the lane, you'll see this icon. That tells you it is ready for the Driver Plus feature. To engage it, you double click on the stalk, and it turns on. To adjust things, you use the right-hand scroll wheel area. The right and left side increase and decrease your set speed. The scroll wheel itself increases and decreases the following distance it'll allow you to get to the vehicle in front of you. You do have to keep your hand on the wheel, but you do not really have to keep your eye on the road. I stared over at Mrs. E-Hermes for maybe 10 or 15 seconds while she was watching the road, and it never gave me a warning or any other signal that it was distressed. But if I take my hands off the wheel for more than, I believe it's 5 seconds, I get a warning on the screen, keep your hands on the wheel. Then I get a chime. Then I get a red warning and chime together. Which the chime would annoy you quite a bit and keep you going. I'm surprised it doesn't actually kick you out like the Ford does. Oh, it did. Okay, so it shut off because I was being a bad driver and not paying attention, didn't have my hands on the wheel. Actually, you don't have to pay attention. You do have to have your hands on the wheel. Interestingly enough, even though I am back centered in the lane on the same mapped highway, because I misbehave, apparently it will not allow me to engage again on this trip. Very similar to, well, actually it allowed me to do the cruise control. But highway assist unavailable until your next drive. I'm in Rivian Driver Plus jail for the rest of this trip. So when you've misbehaved and you're put in Rivian Driver Plus jail for the remainder of your trip, the adaptive cruise control still does work, and the lane keeping assist still works. But it is not lane centering. It kind of tries to keep you from crossing the line, although it will let you cross the line. So it's not really something you can rely on. It's an assistance.
Take exit 141.
Thank you. It's an assistance. It's not something you can rely on like the Driver Plus is with your hands on the wheel, where it will keep you centered in the lane. Before we get comments about it, yes, we know we still have the temporary screen protectors on from the factory. We did order new screen protectors from Amazon. They think they were delivered today, so we'll be putting those on. But we have changed drivers. Mrs. E-Hermes is now in the driver's seat, and she's going to give her impressions of things. First of all,
in a quarter mile, turn right.
First of all, she has to get the seat position and the mirrors and the steering wheel the way she likes it. She really hasn't had a good chance to do that yet. I think she's got it kind of where she wants it now.
Struggling.
She's struggling? Struggling with it. I think the best thing to do would be to park and get everything set the way you want it. As you can see, we have 57% battery, 232 miles of range. It's about 40 or 50 miles back to the house. But we're going to go ahead and have Mrs. E-Hermes take us to the Colonial Square Shopping Center, where the charge point charger is. We'll show you a little bit about how to plug that in, how it works, and all that, as well as her driving to get there. This is State Route 31, a traditional rural 2-lane road. Speed limit 60 miles an hour. Mrs. E-Hermes, would you normally use adaptive cruise control here?
Depends on my mood.
Depends on her mood. Well, you would not use, even if it were available, you would not use the lane keeping like the Tesla Autopilot, because whenever we're in the Tesla, the only thing you use is the adaptive cruise control, correct?
Correct.
She has engaged the adaptive cruise control, has it set for 60 miles an hour, which is the speed limit. The cameras did not pick up the last sign. There was a sign that said the speed limit was 60. It still has it as 40 like we were back in the development. Hopefully it'll pick up the next one. Mrs. E-Hermes is preparing to merge onto Interstate 75. When she does that, we'll see if it picks up the Driver Plus features immediately. Fortunately, she had plenty of acceleration to merge in front of the Lightning. Now it's going to come around us. But you'll see now that she's centered in the lane, the Driver Plus features are available, she would double click on the stock, and that would set that, both the adaptive cruise control and her current speed and the lane centering. So Mrs. E-Hermes and I agree that the ride is similar, the ride quality is similar to the F-150 Lightning, better than the Tesla Model Y. The road noise is probably a little worse than the F-150 Lightning, but still better than, again, than the Tesla. The F-150 Lightning is very quiet in the interior. So we have Mrs. E-Hermes here in some rather unpleasant driving conditions. This is one of the most congested areas of Fort Myers. And Mrs. E-Hermes, how is the vehicle handling in this environment?
So far, so good.
The Florida Power and Light app shows one available. Mrs. E-Hermes says she doesn't see one available. But I think there is one between the Mustang and the white car, which is maybe a Volvo. I'm not sure what that is.
Drive west.
So we're gonna give this one a try. Again, we'll actually go home and charge for free with our solar panels, but I just want to show how this works exactly. Mrs. E-Hermes does not have a Florida Power and Light account, and the ChargePoint app doesn't work on this directly. You have to use a credit card. So anyhow, I have opened it up on my Florida Power and Light app. All right, I have started in the app. Mrs. E-Hermes is going to open the charge port door. She's going to grab the top cable. The pin, the plastic cover for the lower pins is already open. She's going to go ahead and plug in. It's going to do some talking back and forth between the vehicle and the charger. And hopefully here we're going to get a charge session started. And after a few moments time, the charging has begun. You see the green circle around the charger. And the front light bar pulses green as it's charging. And I believe the rear one does as well. We'll have to see. Yes, below the red tail light, the green light bar pulses as it's charging. So we're doing pretty good. The car is at 54%, so it doesn't really need that much charge. We're getting 60.6 kilowatts out of a possible 62.5. So we'll take that. That's as good as it gets. But like we said, since we already have free solar charging at home, we're going to unplug now and head home and let some other people use this one because the station is pretty full. The one down there that's not in use is broken, but the other 5 are all in use. So as I say, we're done charging, so we want to stop charging. You heard it click. And now you should be able to remove the charger from the charge port. Let's see how she does. Came right out. She's gonna replace it, and we'll be on our way. Another interesting feature on the vehicle is the camera views on the center screen. You have the bird's eye view, and then you can toggle between the front camera and the rear camera when you're driving. We will not keep this on because it makes Mrs. E-Hermes sick. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this off. Just wanted to show you how it works. That is accessed by the camera icon down here.
So it probably rides as smooth as the F-150. Not quite as quiet, but I miss the camera for when you're turn signaling to change lanes like the Tesla has.
So the blind spot camera on the Tesla comes up. This has blind spot monitors on the mirrors that illuminate when a car is beside you, and they flash if you have your signal on to change lanes. But I agree, I like having the mirrors pop up. Maybe that's something that'll be done on a future software update. So Mrs. E-Hermes' favorite vehicle, I think of all time, would be her Ford Explorer that we are replacing this with. So can you tell a little bit about the comparison, what you like and don't like, and pros and cons of this over the Explorer?
I don't know that there is any cons with this so far. It drives, obviously, it's 10 years newer, so it has way more technology. It's a quieter ride in here. That one's noisy.
The Explorer's noisy.
Yes. tighter turning radius on here than on there.
Which makes it easier in parking lots and any tight spaces.
Yes, and it sits higher so I can see better.
It sits higher for better visibility, and this is only in standard mode. There's one more height. We could actually be up even higher, but that decreases range a little bit, so we didn't do it, but we certainly could.
No, and I'm short, so I can't go more than standard because I'd fall out of it.
Well, it still has kneel mode, so when you put it in park, it will drop down to the lowest setting no matter what. So your short legs shouldn't be an issue. In fact, maybe when we get home, we will demonstrate that.
My short legs still have issue with kneel mode.
Even with kneel mode?
Yes.
It's a little tight.
Yeah.
Little bit of a step there.
It's a little long, not a little tight. A little long.
Little long step. This is a demonstration of the change from standard ride height to kneel mode when you put it in park. Doesn't go down evenly. The front end kind of goes down, then the back end kind of goes down, then the front end goes down. Making it easier to step out. I don't think either one of us talked about this previously, but the acceleration on it, even compared to the Tesla and the Lightning, is simply absurd. It really throws you back in your seat. All right, so each of us drove a little over 50 miles today on a mix of 4-lane roads with cross traffic, interstate, and 2-lane roads, and some residential areas at Babcock Ranch. I found the ride to be very smooth, relatively quiet. The driving experience, I think, is wonderful. Mrs. E-Hermes, do you have any thoughts on the driving experience?
I like the tight wheel turning radius.
So that's something that Mrs. E-Hermes
and
noticed
parking.
even in our initial test drive. The wheelbase being a foot shorter than it is even on the R1T makes it a very much tighter turning radius. What else were you saying, darling?
It's just very easy to get into parking spots.
Right, so that makes it easier to get into parking spots at the grocery store, at the charging station, anywhere else. Another thing I like is that the charge port door is very far forward. So if the cords are a little short, like when we get access to the Tesla superchargers, it'll be easier to reach than it is with the Lightning, where it's above the front wheel. All in all, I think we're very happy with our experience. I think we're very happy with our purchase. We'll certainly be doing more videos like this in the coming weeks, including a camping trip next week. So make sure you stay tuned to that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And as always, please hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Thank you!